Okay, so you've landed at Marco Polo Airport and you're one step closer to starting your adventure in the most beautiful city in the world. However, getting from the airport to the heart of the city can be a little bit challenging, especially since Venice is an island with no car traffic at all. In today's video, I'm going to clear everything up by going through each of your options by land or by sea to get from Venice Marco Polo Airport into the historic center. Whether you prefer speed, comfort, or budget, I've got all the insider tips that's going to help you make the best choice. I'll go over the pros and cons of the vaporetti, the water bus, the taxis, and more to help you choose the option that's going to be best for your needs. Make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to provide you with some bonus information that's going to help you take advantage of all the services of the airport to help you get your trip started on the right foot. Venice is served by two airports. The smaller one is in Treviso, but the major airport is Venice Marco Polo, which is 13 kilometers away and on the lagoon. So this one is closer and it gives you more options since it is connected by water, which means that your airport transfers are not your ordinary transportation options, since you can go by land or by sea. To get to Venice by water, you'll need to get to the docks where you'll find the vaporetti and the water taxi. It's really easy to get there. As soon as you walk out of the arrivals gate, you're gonna head over to the escalators and just get upstairs. Once you're upstairs, you wanna head towards the security checkpoints and just walk past it. You'll see the car rental desks there. And once you get past those desks, you'll see the entrance to the movable walkway. That's gonna bring you directly to the docks. You don't have to leave the airport to get there. Now, from when you leave the arrivals gate to when you get to the docks is about 10 minutes. When you get to the end of the movable walkway, you're gonna have the choice of either an escalator or an elevator to get downstairs. And once you get down the stairs, then you're there at the docks. You'll see the water taxis right before you. The water taxis are the fastest, the most efficient, the most comfortable, and also the most expensive way to get to Venice. They're private boats. They'll pick you up at the docks and they can potentially bring you directly to your hotel if you have a hotel that's on the canal. So let's take a look at the pros and cons. The biggest pro is the convenience. First of all, you don't have to worry about it getting overcrowded like a bus or a vaporetto. Each of these boats can handle up to 10 people and that's it. It also doesn't make any stops. So it'll take you to the point where you want to go. That could be your hotel. Like I said, if it's on a canal, you can stop right at your hotel. If it's not on a canal, you'll at least get very close to where you need to be. It doesn't make any stops along the way like a vaporetto does, like a bus does. It just picks you up and brings you from point A to point B, that's it. In fact, with that convenience in mind, if you haven't already booked your hotel and you think you want to use a water taxi, then keep that in mind when you're booking. Look for a hotel that's on a canal so you can get right there. I have a link in the description box below to an article where I list the best hotels on canals where you can take your water taxi to. So if you haven't booked your hotel yet, then check that out before you do. The second pro is the speed. It's gonna get you to the historic center faster than any of your other options. If you're going right to the heart of the downtown, say St. Mark's Square, it'll take you about 30 minutes to get there. That makes a water taxi a great option if you're only staying there for the day because you don't have to waste a lot of time on transportation. It'll get you there and back to the airport faster than anything. Another pro is the luxury. It's super comfortable and a very luxurious experience. Now let's get into some of the cons. One of the biggest reasons not to take a water taxi is the cost. It can cost you over 150 euro to get just one way on the water taxi. If money's no object, or you just really want to splurge because it's a once-in-a-lifetime vacation, then maybe that doesn't sound like a lot of money. But one thing to keep in mind about that cost is that a taxi ride is shareable. You don't have to go by yourself. You could go with up to 10 people. Now, if you split that 10 ways, suddenly it's pretty manageable. If you're traveling by yourself, you can still take a shared taxi ride. I'll have a link in the description box below where you can book a ticket where you'll be with a group of up to 10 people and you just pay for your share of the ride. Another potential con is the limited capacity. If you're traveling with a group of over 10 people, You can't only take one taxi, you'll have to take multiple taxis to get there. That might not work for a lot of people. In that case, you're gonna have to go with some of the public transportation options. Another thing to keep in mind is during the height of the season, which is June, July, and August, these water taxis can get pretty busy. You might not be able to just walk up to the dock and get on one to get to Venice. I recommend that if you're traveling during that period, that you do book ahead. Your next water-based option are the Alilaguna Vaporetti. This is like sort of a cross between a bus and a shuttle. You'll pick them up at the same docks as you do the water taxi. Just when you get to the bottom of the escalator or the elevator, take a left. These boats have a higher capacity, they run on a schedule, and they make stops along the way through the canal. And many of those stops are very popular areas. So you can go all the way to St. Mark's Square, Rialto, any of those areas with the Alilaguna. There are 3 lines that you should be aware of. The first is the blue line. This is going to take you through the lagoon to Murano, to the Lido, then to the historic center, and finally it stops at Trunchetto, where all the parking lots are. Because it makes so many stops, it is the longest of the Vaporetti lines to get you to downtown. There's also the orange line if you need to get there a little bit faster. There are fewer stops and it's a little more direct than the blue line. If you're going to one of the main areas like at St. Mark's Square, the orange line is probably going to be your best bet because it will get you there faster. The other option is the red line. This operates very similarly to the blue line, but it's just an additional line during the height of the season to take excess passengers. There are a lot of pros to taking the Alilaguna Vaporetto. First of all, it's economical. Tickets are much cheaper than the water taxi. A one-way trip will only cost you €15 and a round trip costs you 27. If you're traveling by yourself, this is a perfect option. Just keep in mind that there is a limit with the amount of baggage that you can bring with you. If you have more than one bag or your bag is oversized, then there's going to be a €3 additional fee. Another pro is that it's as scenic as the water taxi. It might not be as stylish, but you're going through the same lagoon, down the same canals, and getting off at the same stops pretty much. And the last pro is the convenience. Even though you're not getting door-to-door service like you would with the water taxi, it is getting you to the main parts of the island where most people are going to need to be. And it gets you there pretty fast. There are some cons, but I don't think that they're deal breakers most of the time. One is the speed. Even though it is a fast way to get there, it's slower than the water taxi. It could take you up to an hour to get to St. Mark's Square, depending on the line that you get on. Probably the biggest con, though, is that it can get crowded, especially at the height of the season. It does have a high capacity for passengers, but there are going to be lines, and it is going to get packed on there. And an hour on a packed Vaporetto that could be moving around a little bit, it's not as comfortable as taking a water taxi, obviously. And buying tickets in advance isn't going to help you at all when it comes to how crowded it is. There are no reserved seats. You just have to wait and get on, whether you got your ticket a month ago or whether you got it 5 minutes ago. Most people going by land are going to take one of the 2 buses. You have a choice of the ACTV bus or the ATVO bus. Both of these buses stop right in front of the arrivals terminal. So when you come out of the arrivals gate, you just walk straight out and you'll be right there where the first stop is the ATVO bus. Then behind it is the ACTV bus. So what's the difference between these 2 buses then? The ATVO is a shuttle. It's a direct link. So you'll get on at the airport and you'll get off in Piazzale Roma. There are no stops in between. You also have a big baggage compartment under the bus. It's a coach, so it's a lot more comfortable than a regular city bus. The ACTV bus that you'll want is the number 5. And again, this is a regular city bus, so it is going to make stops along the way. It doesn't have a baggage compartment either. It takes a little bit longer than the ATVO bus, but it still doesn't take all that long. For example, the ATVO bus takes about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, depending on traffic, where the ACTV bus takes about 30 minutes, again, depending on traffic. So the pros for both of these are that they're convenient, They're pretty quick and they're very economical. They run every 15 minutes, so you really don't even need to get a ticket ahead of time. You can get them at one of the desks inside the airport. There are even machines outside right at the stops where you can buy your ticket directly. A couple of important points to remember though. If you buy your ticket ahead of time, say the ATVO bus, you'll have a QR code and you'll need to scan it at this scanner to validate the ticket for that next ride. The same thing goes with the ACTV bus. When you buy your ticket, when you get on the bus, you'll see a scanner where you'll need to scan that ticket to validate it for that ride. Another land-based option are taxis. There are lots of taxis that stop and wait right outside the arrivals gate just before you get to the buses. So it's easy to pick up a taxi and get right to Piazzale Roma without making any stops. Let's go over some of the pros. The biggest pro is the comfort. You have a choice of really any kind of vehicle that you want from there. If you're by yourself or as a couple, you can just get in a regular sedan. You've got plenty of space for your bags in there. The ride is going to be smooth, it's going to be comfortable and air conditioned. There are also bigger options too. You can get in a van very easily. If you have a large group, you have a lot of luggage, you'll have options for that. The other pro then is convenience. You don't have to wait long, you get there fast, and like I said, it's very comfortable. You can get taxis around the clock. If you get in late or you need to get in early, you've got a taxi there at your disposal pretty much any hour. I guess a potential downside is the cost. It's not nearly as expensive as a water taxi, but you're going to spend more than you will with the Vaporetto or the regular buses. You should plan on about €50 to get there, depending on how much luggage you have and depending on the service itself. Make sure that before you get into the taxi that you agree on a price. You don't want any surprises when you get there. Now the other con goes for the taxi as well as the buses, and that you can only get to Piazzale Roma. So once you get to Piazzale Roma, if your hotel is on the other side of the island, let's say, you're going to have to either walk there with your bags or you have to take another Vaporetto once you get there. This can add to the cost and kind of knocks it down a few levels on the convenience factor. All right, let's get into some of those bonus tips so that way you can get the most out of your trip. My first and probably most important tip is to travel light when you get into the city. You might have a lot of bags with you once you arrive, but it doesn't mean that you have to bring all of those bags with you into the historic center. You can safely leave any bags at the baggage check at the airport, for a price, of course. If you're there just for the day, you can throw a few things that you're going to need into a backpack and take that with you so you're not burdened with all that luggage. Even if you're there for more time, if you're spending the night, you could still have a separate bag just for Venice and consolidate some of the other bags into that little bag, leave the rest, and then just take the little bag with you so you don't have to bring all of your luggage there. My next tip is to be careful about where you withdraw your money. You're going to want to get cash right away. That's understandable. And knowing that, there are these ATM companies that have these all over the airport where they charge you high fees and a terrible exchange rate. What you really want to do, and this goes for anywhere in Italy, not just in this airport, look for ATMs that are part of a bank because those are going to give you better rates. Even better is if you go to the post office postomat. Within the airport, right by all the check-in gates, there's a postomat. You won't be charged any fees and you get the best exchange rate that you could get. That's a tip that goes for anywhere. If you need some cash, look for the post office. Most of them have an ATM and that's where you should get your money. Otherwise, look for an actual bank. Another tip is to take advantage of the sleep pods within the airport. Let's say that you have a very early flight. Instead of waking up at the crack of dawn and having to rush to make an early flight, you could sleep in the airport in one of these pod hotels. It might not be the most luxurious experience, but it is a great way to just wake up, pop out of your pod, and be ready to get to your next destination. There are only 4 of these though, so make sure you book well in advance. I've got a link to them in the description box below. So that's my definitive guide to all of the transportation options to get you there. As rewarding as Venice is, it's equally challenging. So the more you know before you go, the better your trip is going to be. I hope this video takes all of the guesswork out of how to get to Venice. And if you need more help planning your trip to Italy, then I suggest subscribing and sticking around for more videos.